Are not enough people talking about how the Miami Dolphins could select a tight end in the 2026 NFL draft? And are not enough people talking about how that could be a sneaky day 2 pick and not a late day 3 pick, like some people expect if they do take a tight end? We're going to discuss that. Plus, I'm going to give my top 15 tight end big board for the 2026 NFL draft. And we're going to discuss the Dexter Lawrence trade and does it impact the Miami Dolphins? Because now the Giants, well, they have the pick right in front of the Miami Dolphins in the 2026 NFL draft, as well as the 5th pick. We're going to discuss that all. So smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's go ahead and get into this. What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through. As you do, please smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. It does go a long way on these videos because all of these big boards, they get instantly demonetized due to the all 22 footage that I use for the top 5 prospects. So it really does go a long way, and it only takes 2 seconds of your time. Speaking of big boards, Patreons and channel members, you guys will get the rest of my big boards that did not make video format. So quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, all of that, all the positions that we did not cover in video format, centers, all of those positions we didn't cover, linebackers, those boards will be exclusive to you guys. So be out on the lookout for that. And also, I will have a new episode of 3 Takes dropping this evening, late night into Monday morning. So be out on the lookout for that. I'm going to talk about things I'm hearing regarding the Dolphins in the draft, and I'm going to talk about things I'm hearing regarding prospects in the draft. So it's going to be a pretty draft jam-packed, good episode. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a Patreon member, and if you're a channel member, be on the lookout for the write-up. All right, so a lot of stuff coming your way, and don't forget, I'll be live Monday. We'll go over all the latest news and everything that I want to cover. Mock draft Monday as well. Tuesday, me and Neil will do our annual 3-round hand selected, no simulator mock draft. Wednesday, I will be live with Marcel Louis Jacques, who covers the Dolphins for ESPN. And then Thursday, you know what time it is. Night 1 of the draft will be live. Friday will be live for night 2 of the draft. We'll be live right after conclusion of day 3 to recap it all. Sunday we'll be live again to give you grades. We got you covered. Then we'll be getting into my annual prospect profiles we got you covered when it comes to the draft. So be on the lookout. We are stacked and we're coming at you real hard this week with draft content. So Dexter Lawrence, he was traded late Saturday. All right, he was traded at almost 9 p.m. Eastern, in fact. And listen, he was traded to the Bengals for the 10th overall pick straight up. Apparently, the Bengals are also going to try and hammer out a long-term extension. That was part of the trade talks, that and they're spending money. And you got to think, were they going to find a better player at 10? I mean, this is a big-time investment. I mean, you haven't seen a defensive tackle or even a non-QB traded for a top 10 pick this close to the draft since April 8th, 1996. Rams defensive tackle Sean Gilbert was traded to the Redskins for the 6th overall pick. The Rams then took Lawrence Phillips. Like, this crazy. Like, and I mean, you want a crazy stat? Since 2022, when aligned at nose tackle, Dexter Lawrence has 108 pressures. Second closest, Vita Vea at 32. Then DJ Jones and DJ Reader at 28, Jordan Davis at 26. I mean, you're talking about one of the most elite defenders in the NFL right now. Ain't no doubt about it. Now, how does this affect the Miami Dolphins? Word on the street is, I'll give you some scenarios. Word on the street is, according to, Adam Schefter and Peter Schrager and such, Giants GM Joe Schoen was in Arizona Thursday night and dined with Jordan Tyson. So are they going to take Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles at 5 and then go ahead and take Jordan Tyson at 10 or Carnell Tate? Are they going to take Moe Noah at 5 and then maybe turn around and take, if there's an Ohio State player there, go ahead. If not, Jordan Tyson. Or are they going to imagine getting Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. I'm going to tell you this much. Either way, don't look real hot for us. I don't think it changes much. I think this draft is trending towards, don't be surprised if Jordan Tyson is the first receiver off the board. Apparently, a lot of teams are real comfortable with, the medical reports. I've told you guys, he's clearing away when you watch the tape. He's wide receiver 1. I mean, this is not even a discussion. Let's be real here. He's number 1 on my big board. I've been vocal about it all over social media. Come on. Now, I'm not taking you, me, him, her, them over there. We don't have access to his medicals unless you are someone who works for an NFL team watching me right now. Then I retract that statement towards you. But 99.9% chance, 99.99999% chance that everyone watching here doesn't have access to his medicals. So I don't have access to his medicals. You don't have access to medicals. We don't have crystal balls. Do you want to say, listen, I think you have much more of a grounds to stand on if you want to be worried about his injury history translating to the NFL than Jermon McCoy's. I've been vocal about this. Jermon McCoy has one injury. Tyson's been injured since high school. I get that. But again, Frank Gore, injured throughout college. Adrian Peterson, multiple injuries throughout college, right? Broken collarbone, ankle injury. We could sit here and name guys who had extensive injury histories in college, and then they had pretty healthy, high caliber careers. I don't know. But I've been saying this the whole time. If you want a receiver in this class who's most likely, if you want a safe bet in terms of who's most likely going to have a wide receiver 1 type of rookie season, I've been saying this, it's Jordan Tyson. Him and Malik Neighbors could be real dynamic too. I'm just going to throw that out there when Neighbors is healthy. But I don't think it overly impacts us. It is what it is for us. It's just, I think now if you had Carnell Tate in the top 10, swap him out and for Tyson, and you get the same result of the players you think are going in the top 10. So however you think that falls. Personally, I don't have Caleb Downs. I don't think Caleb Downs, Moe Noah, Sonny Styles, or Ruben Bain are going to fall to us. I just don't. The way I'm seeing things play out as I started to do my mock draft for Fin Too Deep. So we'll see. I could be wrong. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about tight end. Tight end, could it be a sneaky pick on day 2? I really honestly think it could be. I think once you get past 75, it really gets into play. I think 75, 87, 90, 94. I think one of those could be your tight end pick. I don't know if they're going to wait all the way until 130. I don't think, we know Sadiq and Stowers won't be there, but I don't think Delp will be there. I don't think Roush will be there. I don't think Jolly will be there. Now I think you're getting into the Endries, the Raredens, the Kleins, now you're getting into that. And I think that's, I don't know. So I think if you want to, I think if you want to take one of those guys, like if you don't, you're going to be stuck with Tanner Koziel, you know, and I don't want to say stuck isn't a bad thing, but John Michael Gillenberg, you know, like Dallin Bentley, you know, I could thank God you brought in Daquan Wright for a visit because now you're getting to that territory, you know. Do you want to touch Michael Trigg with his stuff we'll talk about during when we go over my big board? Marlon Klein is like an upside guy who hasn't been playing the position for a long time, right? He's only been playing it since 2019. You know, so this is one of those classes that feels like very top heavy, you know. And then outside of that, you got guys with flaws that need development in certain areas to be something. So we'll see. We'll see. But man, it could be a sneaky pick. That's for sure. I want to shout out the sponsor of today's video. And that, of course, is Prize Picks, America's #1 sports pick app. No matter what sport you're watching, there's no better way to make the action more exciting than with Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made simple. You just pick more or less on your favorite players, his projections, and build lineups in a few taps. Whether it's football, basketball, or playoff hockey, baby, or another sport you're into, Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in on every play while you're watching. And to get you started, they're hooking you up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup when you use code HMA. And, you know, I like Jack Quinn for Buffalo against Boston. I like him for over half a point, 110%. I like Cole McCarr against LA to get over half a point. You know, you could play minutes. I mean, you could play Doughty over 25 and a half minutes if you really want. So it's making playoff hockey much more exciting for me, that's for sure. So download Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Link is in the description below. Again, shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring the video. All right, let's go ahead and let's get into my top 15 big board for this draft. Let's start off with my honorable mentions in this class. RJ Maryland out of SMU comes in at 15, 6'3", 5'8", 236, runs a 4.5, 4.1 40. A 4.5, 140, which was the second best time amongst tight ends. But even better than that, you see the speed show up frequently when you watch the tape and his game. I like him better than Hibner out of SMU, so that may be a little controversial, I guess. I think he's a good receiver with quick feet, fluid hips, good hands, plays with good contact balance. I think he's best as a moving tight end out of the slot, as an H-back, those kind of things. So you can take reps in line. He's a versatile receiving threat. Now, he needs to get stronger, especially to help him as a blocker and with that anchor at the catch point. Against physical defenders, he needs to get stronger too. So he had a torn ACL in 2024. Needs to continue his refinement as a route runner too. So as for as good of a mover with some speed as he is, you'd think he would produce more after the catch than he does. Number 14, Dallin Bentley. He's become a bit of a draft darling at tight end in some really deep scouting circles. And it's easy to see why. You know, he's 6'3", 5'8", 253 pounds. Has some really good functional strength to his frame. And he's a pretty good athlete for his size. I really do believe that. I think he's a willing competitor with a nice sized catch radius when it comes to catching the football. He translates that good functional strength into being a good blocker too. Has good hands as he didn't have a single drop in 2025. Tracks the ball fairly well. Coming off a career year where he posted 620 receiving yards with 6 touchdowns. And he can line up in the slot as an H-back in line, basically offer you move tight end upside. So he isn't the most reliable at the catch point when he is contested, though. You know, that's where I think he does have a bit of a problem. You know, he'll be 26 this season. 1 season of production will be called into question. Needs to expand his route tree and improve his details overall as a route runner. Plus, he always, you know, he isn't always the smoothest runner, you know, when I look at him. So, but he is a good athlete for his size. I really do think so, you know. So Now, continuing on here, let's get into number 13, Will Kekmerick out of Ohio State. Kekmerick is 6'5", 5'8", 261 pounds. You know, he has really, really good length to his frame, I think. When you look at him too, he's got that prototypical tight end body. He's a top tier blocker in this class with a nasty streak to him when he takes on defenders. He's obviously he's obviously a strong blocker that can take on and sustain blocks. He has sure hands for the few targets he has had with no drops over the last 2 seasons. Wins about 50% of the contested catches that are thrown his way. So obviously best suits an inline role, and I think can contribute from there pretty quickly. Not a great athlete with any elite traits. Not a nuanced route runner by any means. Limited upside of the receiving threat, in my opinion. Not going to offer you much as a yak guy either. So again, he's more of a clunky mover than a smooth one. Number 12 for me is John Michael Gillenborg. For a guy that's 6'5", 3/4 and 249 pounds, Gillenborg is an absolutely fantastic athlete. Flashes all over the film. The testing at the combine backed it up. He posted a 35.5-inch vert, a 10-foot 8-inch broad, ran a 4.6 flat 40 time, as well as a 2.68 20-yard split, a 1.6 10-yard split, and a 4.22 short shuttle. Those are all elite testing scores for a tight end at his size. So Gillenborg is a very good route runner, I think, too. He can bust, an opposing defense up the seam. He can stretch a defense vertically. He's a fluid mover with good body control. The feet are quick and the footwork itself is good. Has shown the ability to beat both man and zone as a receiver. Offers some special teams upside. And overall, I think the ceiling is incredibly high on him. Now, he needs to get better as a blocker by building out his strength, but also with his technique from hand placement to pad level. Obviously, the competition level he played against isn't high end. He's just not an overly physical player in general, and he does have a few injuries in his past. Plus, for how good of an athlete he is, I wish he was more creative after the catch. Now, number 11, Tanner Koziel, 6'6.5", 247 pounds. Tanner Koziel will be the perfect fit for a team looking for a big, athletic, and productive receiving tight end, best suited as an F or move tight end. He's put up 1,507 receiving yards and 18 touchdowns over 3 years at Ball State before transferring to Houston last year when he posted 727 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's a downright dominant player at the catch point, posting a 74.1 contested catch rate in 2025. He has a 61.3 contested catch rate for his career. He has solid, reliable hands. He's a great ball tracker with fantastic body control. He has a very, very wide catch radius. He could be an extremely reliable red zone target at the next level, I think. And I think he's a better blocker than most give him credit for, at least from what I saw. I will say, when it comes to blocking, though, the problem he does have, and I get why people don't like him, is there are some reps where he looks like he's a little light in the pants, but he's very willing to get involved. So again, just build your strength out, right? Now, he didn't run an expansive route tree in college. He also doesn't have a lot of nuance to his route running. And, with what he does run, you see. So, and I don't think he's overly dynamic at the catch. After the catch, sorry. Number 10 for me when we get into our top 10, Michael Trigg. Man, what a wild ride. This guy was in my, top 5. He was probably going to make my man crush list. Then he landed at 7. Now he's landed at 10. And we'll get into why in just a second. Trigg is 6'3", 5'8", 240 pounds, has a frame that he can continue to fill out with elite length. He's got 34.25 arms. He's got a ridiculous 84 3/8 wingspan. He's got great hand size, 10.5 inches. Fits more of that big slot move tight end role at the next level than a traditional inline tight end. He has a very big catch radius. That's one of the best in this class. While I think, he's a clear mismatch for linebackers and defensive backs on the merit of his size alone, but as a receiving threat, he's also a guy who can high point the ball. He has great body control at the catch point. He can kill you up the seams, and he's a pretty good route runner with clean footwork. Trigg has good sync to his hips at the top of his routes, and he has good burst, in and out of his breaks. Smart enough to sit in the soft zone areas of coverage and exploit them. Offers a ton of upside as a pass catcher, I think, overall. And he's also tough to bring down after the catch when he wants to, because, he does display good contact balance. He's the type of red zone weapon offensive coordinators love to have and defensive coordinators fear to face if he really locked in on honing his overall craft, because the potential and high ceiling is clearly obvious with them. Now, He was a player who was higher on my board a few months ago before the combine, and the intel I received being that he's apparently an awful teammate who coaches and teammates damn near despised. He has a reputation for giving low effort and taking reps off. In fact, many at the combine believed he had almost zero interest in being there. Now, as far as the other negatives I see when watching the film, concentration drops are an issue. Not a very good blocker. And he's one of those guys, he just doesn't fully embrace the physical aspect of the game. Number 9, Marlon Klein. He's a player I've been mentioning on this channel all year long, especially during Fin Too Deep. He's 6'6" and a quarter, 248. Plus, he tested very well at the combine with a 36-inch vert, a 4.61 40, and a 2.69 20-yard split. What's crazy too is he's been clocked running a 21.75 miles per hour. That's crazy. His strongest attribute is as a blocker. I think he latches his hands inside a defender's pads, and they're immediately displaced. Moving at as well, effective on combo blocks, reach blocks. It's clearly his biggest strength, when it comes to his game, and that'll allow him to get on the field early, combined with the intrigue of his physical upside. So I think he's a pretty good functional strength when you break it all down. That lets him absorb contact from powerful rushers. I think he's athletic enough to be a seam stretcher too. He has a pretty wide catch radius with soft hands, and he's a versatile player that can be lined up in the slot, in line, or in motion. I think he's underrated after the catch. Again, due to a lack of opportunity, 53.2% of his yardage came after the catch. He's a high motor player that will give it his all on every down. And Klein shows good spatial awareness when he faces zone to find that soft spot. I like that. So he takes really good angles on his blocks. Just comes off like a high IQ guy with a high ceiling. So he's still very new to the game, sort of player that was kind of late to the party. He only started playing since 2019 when he came over from Germany. Hasn't had a chance to prove himself as a contested catch maker or consistent target due to not being properly utilized in that Michigan offense, kind of like Loveland. Needs to improve as a route runner and expand his route tree. Obviously, doesn't have a ton of production, and he's a really good athlete, but he's not an overly explosive athlete. Number 8 for me, out of Notre Dame, Eli Raritan. He's a definition of a big athletic tight end who can basically do it all. 6'5" and a 3/4, 245 pounds, 4.62 40 speed. He can jump a 36-inch vert, 10-foot 3-inch broad, and you really see his size, body control, and vert ability. That all flashes when he's in the red zone, where I think he can be a reliable target in the NFL. I mean, the guy was 6 for 9 on contested catches in college for a 66.7 contested catch rate. He's got reliable, soft hands for when he does go up to high point that ball. I think he also displays a pretty wide catch radius, and he tracks the ball very well when it's in the air. I think he's a mismatch for second level and third level defenders, can stretch the seams, and is a dependable target when you need a third down converted. As a blocker, he's effective pulling on reach blocks. He's got good leg drive and strong hands that can displace defenders when he gets inside their pads and he sustains his blocks. He got good pop behind his punch when he lands it too. So he takes correct angles. He plays at a good pad level with a good understanding of how to win with leverage. Raritan can fit multiple personnel looks and alignments as he fits in line, in the slot, in motion as an H-back. So he offers that move tight end versatility like we've seen a couple guys before him already, right? So he's got a motor that runs hot, and he's viewed as one of the leaders of that Irish defense. Needs to continue developing as a route runner. When he fails as a blocker, it's always due to technique, not power. So hips aren't as oily as you'd like them to be, and he can display some stiffness in those hips. Isn't dynamic after the catch. He needs to continue building out his frame to take on power defenders and blocking situations. And Raritan does have an injury history, including 2 ACL tears on the same knee in a 10-month span between 2021 and 2022. Number 7 for me, Jack Endries. 6'4", 3/4. 245 pounds. He tested pretty well at the combine too. 36-inch vert, 4.62 40-yard dash, a 2.7 20-yard split, and a 1.59 10-yard split. And he's the type of tight end you love that can offer you receiving and blocking upside at the next level. He has reliable hands as he didn't drop a single target in 2025 while at Texas, and only had one drop in 2024 when he was at Cal. He's a pretty good route runner who can separate with a bit of nuance against man, or he can use his spatial awareness to try and exploit zone looks. As a blocker, he takes good angles. He's very willing to get his hands dirty in pass pro and run sets, can climb to the second level and take on linebackers or defensive backs, dependable on combo blocks, reach blocks, etc. He's got active hands and quick feet and smooth footwork to go with it. Another versatile guy that can work in line as a Y, move tight end, as an H back, etc. Moves pretty well laterally, takes care of the football, and has been an absolute fantastic when it comes to contested catch situations. The last 2 years, as he's 12 for 17 for contested catch rate of 70.6. That's crazy. Doesn't have top end grip strength. Didn't see him regularly latching, displacing bigger and more physical defenders like that, consistently enough for me. Isn't a twitchy or explosive athlete. Arm length is only I think 31 and 1/8. And length to his frame overall is not ideal. Plus, Endries isn't overly dynamic in open space, especially when it comes to breaking tackles. Number 6 for me, Max Clare. He's 6'4", 246. Really produced the last 2 seasons between Purdue and Ohio State. He posted 1,113 yards, 6 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. So, the guy's producing. He's a proven reliable option for quarterbacks that can be used as an inline option out of the slot or as a move flex option. You got all Big Ten honors at both schools the last 2 years. So as a route runner, he's pretty nuanced. He can create separation without having to be an explosive athlete. He can manipulate defenders through his stem, has good tempo to the routes he runs, can attack the seams of a defense or eat up chunk yardage on underneath and intermediate rights. He's got soft, reliable hands. He only had 2 drops in 2025. Has proven he can win at the catch point when contested, isn't susceptible to drops when he's body catching, as he's all hands when it comes to his usage. You know what I mean? I also think Claire is sneaky elusive in space after he gets the ball in his hands too. He's a good blocker on the move. Love the length to his frame. 70, I believe he's got a 77 and 7/8 wingspan. He gives it his all on every rep until the whistle. And, Claire not only embraces physicality, he seems to be actively seeking it so he can run through it. I don't know how effective he'll be in line at the next level, given what I've seen from his anchor. Pad level gets a little too high, too. Hands can get too wide on defenders' pads when blocking. That causes him to lose and not be able to sustain his block. He's not as an explosive athlete, as you'd like. So you have to separate with technique over athleticism, which you already kind of see. And it did feel like he got lost in the fray at times due to Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. So let's get into my top 10. And my top 10 starts off with one of the favorites in this class of my co-host for Fin Too Deep, Neil Driscoll. Jolly is a dynamic tight end who I think projects best as a big slaughter flex tight end. You want to utilize him in mismatches in the red zone and in space against linebackers and defensive backs. Can't deny his production the last 2 seasons either. 1,150 yards along with 11 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. Gotta love it. He's 6'3", 5'8", 241 pounds. I think he's one of the more nuanced route runners of this tight end class. He's got quick feet with smooth footwork to match. He's a smart receiver too. Not only does he exploit soft coverage areas and zones, but he's also got high level awareness when plays break down to come back to the quarterback and make life easier as an outlet. So when it comes to being a move blocker, taking on second level defenders, he's definitely good enough. He's also a very competitive player that will fight for every extra yard after the catch or play through traffic over the middle of the field if it means he can move the sticks. He's got good, reliable hands, good body control. As he regularly adjusted to back shoulder off-target throws, had only 1 drop in 2025. It's a wide catch radius, displays good contact balance, and I love how tough this kid is overall, to be honest. He doesn't have the ideal size, leg, or functional strength to be consistent, effective inline blocker, in my opinion. That's why I see more as a flex move option. So I also wasn't overly surprised by the lackluster testing on what he did do, because he's not anywhere near an elite or an explosive athlete on tape. He's not going to consistently stretch the seams, and sometimes his hands do get too wide when blocking, which can make it hard for him to sustain the block. But there's no denying the upside of this kid. And I think now you're getting into that second tier of, I think 5 through 4, you can have the discussion of second tier guys behind the top dog of this class. And man, he's going to be one of those guys where I don't even think he's on the board in the 90s. If you don't take him at 75, is he even going to be there at 75? He's got big time upside. So I love Justin Jolly. Sam Roush, number 4 for me. He is 6'5", 5'8", 267 pounds. He's strong as an ox, as seen by his 27 bench reps of 225 pounds at the combine. And he's a downright elite athlete for his size in the tight end position. He had a 38.5-inch vert, a 10-foot 6-inch broad jump. He ran a 4.7 flat 40, along with an elite 1.61 10-yard split and a 7.08 3-cone, which all added up to the 10th best tight end relative athletic score since 1987. He's easily one of the best blockers in his class, not just because of his functional strength, but because of his high football IQ, where he understands timing, angles, leverage, seals the edge well consistently on his reach blocks, works well with fellow offensive linemen on combo blocks, and basically can do it all. And Roush has some of the best hand placement in his class. Plus, those hands are super strong. He's a reliable receiver on the short to intermediate level, posted a career high in receiving yards last year of 545, as well as yards after the catch. He had 319 last year. As you know, he's a little bit of a dynamic factor to him after the catch, shows that ability to break tackles too. He's a 3-down player that can line up anywhere. His blocking prowess allows him to be in line, while his athleticism and receiving ability allows him to be used all over, from the slot, the boundary, as an H-back, wherever you want. Now, he's just okay in contested catch situations. The route tree does need expansion, and his technique as a route runner needs to be developed. He has short arms and kind of a smaller catch radius because of that. So drops were a serious issue for him in 2025, but not before that. So you hope he goes back to his prior form, and he needs to improve beyond 20 yards downfield as a ball tracker. But man, the intrigue is real with a guy like Sam Roush. That's for sure. And he's a guy who I think is going to go a lot higher than people think or are expecting, because the ceiling is very, very high with a player like that. That's for sure, man. I mean, he's a guy, he offers you a little bit of everything, right? He just needs a little bit more development in certain areas of his game, but he offers you a little bit of everything, right? In pass pro, as a run blocker, as a pass catcher, and he's tough to bring down. He is a tough to bring down. And number 3 for me, he was one of my man crushes of this class, Oscar Delp. To me, is a prospect with a very high ceiling whose best days are ahead of him. I think he was very underutilized in the Georgia offense. I think he should have been targeted much more. There's so many times I watched the film and he's wide open. He's 6'4", 5'8", 245 pounds. Blew up the combine, had 23 bench reps of 225 pounds, jumped a 38-inch vert along with a 10-foot, 5-inch broad jump, ran a 4.49 40, a 2.59 yard 20-yard split, and a 1.61 10-yard split. Delp fits the mold as a 3-down tight end who can line up in line, out of the slot, and due to his athletic upside, could probably be utilized in other looks too. He can threaten you underneath on intermediate routes, threaten the seams, and can stretch you vertically if he has to. Plus, I think it's a big positive he was in a pro-style offense while at Georgia, even if they didn't get the most out of him. He's a fluid mover with oily hips, quick, crisp footwork, will find soft spots against zone or separate against tight ends. Tight coverage with his athleticism and natural movement abilities. I think his hands are palm olive soft. He sinks his hips well and shows some bursts in and out of his routes. He's a tough kid with a really high motor. He shines as a blocker, whether in pass pro or run sets. He positions himself well with good timing and smart angles. Plays with good pad level. Hand placement and grip strength is also very good, allowing him to move and displace defenders. He can seal the edge on a reach block, help his teammates out on combo blocks. He's effective out on the perimeter and second level blocking, and offers serious upside with chip and releases. Needs refinement as a route runner, which is scary because he can already beat linebackers and safeties with his speed and explosiveness. So imagine that upside. Hasn't shown he can be physical or strong enough to win when contested consistently at the catch point. Lack of usage means lack of production. And he has to prove he's a fully capable number 1. For as good as a blocker as he is, he's susceptible to lunging. His contact balance is just okay, and he isn't a tackle breaking machine. But you want a hot take? He's not going to be on the board when we come out at 75. Feels like you're going to have to take him at 43 or you're going to miss out on him. Number 2 for me, Eli Stowers. Stowers projects as a dynamic big slot flex tight end at the next level who has some serious upside when you take into account The film, his elite production the past 2 seasons at Vanderbilt, as well as the impressive athletic testing he showcased at the Combine. He's 6'3", 5'8", 239 pounds, posted an unbelievable 45.5-inch vert, 11-foot 3-inch broad jump, ran a 4.51 40-yard dash, as well as a 2.62 20-yard split and a 1.59 10-yard split. Stowers also has very good length to his frame. He's got 32 and 5/8-inch arms, 79 and 3/4 wingspan. He's also been recorded at 21.43 miles per hour on field. He's a stud, and if it wasn't for Sadiq, would be hyped probably more. Now, he won the 2025 Mackey Award as the best tight end in college football. He's got some of the best hands in the class. Snatches the ball away from his frame, doesn't use his body, can catch, can catch up the seams and stretch them too. Attacks linebackers and safeties as a serious mismatch. Finds the open space and zone. Good hip sync, and they're pretty oily. Tracks the ball well and has very good body control. He's pretty deadly in open space as well after the catch. Stowers is quick to make a defender miss. He constantly comes back to the ball. He gets a lot of effort on plays when he's tasked with blocking too, and I actually think he runs a pretty expansive route tree. So that said, he's not the most nuanced route runner yet. He rounds them out a little bit. Still new to the position, having been transitioned from quarterback to tight end back in 2023. Play strength and ability to win at the catch point needs to improve. Increasing that strength will also help him improve his anchor, which he needs that improvement. Has moments where it's clear he's a little raw technique-wise when blocking too. And there's going to be real questions. Should he just make the full-time conversion to a big slot or a X receiver? There's going to be the legitimate conversations around him. So, but man, for a guy who was just converted from quarterback to tight end a few years ago, and he's number 2 on this list, the upside is real for a guy like Eli Stowers. Ain't no doubt about that when you watch him play. Really high on this guy. Really, really high on this guy. Number 1 for me is Kenyon Sadiq. Not only is Kenyon Sadiq a man crush of mine from this class, but he's also a top 10 player in this whole draft class to me. I agree with the notion that pro scouts see Vernon Davis 2.0. And as I've said, I think Brock Bowers is the only better tight end prospect to come out the last few years with Loveland right behind him. I'm very high on Sadiq, there's just no doubt about it. So he's 6'2", 5'8", 241 pounds. He's an absolute athletic freak and unit of a human being who destroyed the Combine. He posted 26 bench reps at 225 pounds, jumped a 43.5-inch vert, as well as 11-foot 2-inch broad jump. Ran the second fastest 40 for a tight end since 1999 with a 4.39 that he also paired with a 2.57 20-yard split and a 1.54 10-yard split. But when you watch the film, the explosiveness, the lead athleticism, and speed, it's everywhere. And quite frankly, it's hard not to notice. As a receiver, he has pretty good, strong hands, strong at the catch point, and when contested, he can give defenses anxiety with so many ways to beat you, as he can do it on all 3 levels, whether it's a screen at the line of scrimmage, underneath, or at the intermediate level, while he also possesses the ability to stretch a defense with ease. He's the epitome of a mismatch for a second and third level defender, given his frame, power, and athleticism. It just makes him such a handful to bring down. All of those things I listed allow him to be a yak monster. 57.7% of his yardage the last few years has been after the catch. He knows how to exploit zone or use his traits to separate from tight man coverage. Sadiq is an excellent flex tight end. He's very strong and loves the physical aspects, so he embraces blocking, even if his technique still doesn't need a little bit of refinement at times. But the upside is clearly there. And he's clearly a 3-down player that can play anywhere from inline to the slot, to the boundary, to the backfield. He's a high-effort player, too. He's still only 21 with one of the highest ceilings in this whole draft, no matter the position. He still needs to improve his technique as a route runner, especially with his sharpness and in and out of his breaks. Overall size isn't top tier from height to length. Where he needs to improve techniques-wise as a blockers with his hands, he's an okay, not elite ball tracker. And Sadiq, he does need to expand his route tree a little bit. No doubt about it. But the upside, it is for real with Kenyon Sadiq. There ain't a single solitary doubt about it. I absolutely love that player. All right. He is the absolute man. All right. So, yeah, I mean, nothing else to say except Kenyon Sadiq. Man, I've said this pretty much. At 11, he's the only guy I would take if I was a Dolphins and I was looking for a weapon. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Listen, do me the favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. I appreciate each and every one of you coming through on this episode. I will catch each and every one of you on the next one. We'll be live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Got you covered the next week as we get into the draft. All right. Fins up all day, every day. Make sure to smash that like button. I'll catch each and every one of you on the next one. And let me know down below, who are your favorite tight ends in this class? Appreciate y'all. See you on the next one. Fins up.